Hey guys, Professor Bell, Comic Book University. Going to see how this new format works out. Just doing a little discussion piece here. Got the microphone over here, see if the sound works out a little bit better. Today is, the 27th of December, 2016. Damn year can't go by fast enough. Carrie Fisher just died today, a couple hours ago. Go to hell, 2016. You go to hell. You took my R2-D2, Kenny Baker, took all these amazing people this year, right? And it's going to be mean to say this, but for the love of God, why are we taking away the people we like instead of some of these politicians? All right, I don't care what your political affiliation is. I want a whole bunch of them to just disappear. Do they have to die? No, I'm not that kind of person. But they could go away. They could just go away. And here we're actually losing celebrities. Not cool with that. Not cool with that at all. I want to say God bless Carrie Fisher. Tomorrow is Stan Lee's birthday. He's going to be 94 years old. Somebody please check on him, please. And yeah, that's really all I want to say about that. That's messed up. I'm taking my wife to see Rogue One tonight for the very first time. My wife doesn't watch my channel, so I can pretty much say whatever I want. You know the scene I'm talking about at the very end, right? That very end, like she's gonna flip out over that scene, right? I've seen it already. I've already seen it, but she hasn't. Just work schedule. We have kids. If you have kids, you understand. It's difficult. Anyway, so that's pretty much my beginnings. But what I really want to talk about here is I'm getting a lot of, from my very small channel, I'm getting a lot of comments coming in about Inhumans versus X-Men. And Dan Slott's clone conspiracy that's going through the roof. But this Inhumans versus X-Men is, wow. Like I'm even getting a lot of feedback about this. So yeah, I want to discuss this, something that I don't know if anybody else is discussing. I can't possibly check everybody's podcasts and things like that, but my little bit of searching, I don't think anybody's really done this before. So let's just talk a little bit about, sorry, adjusting my microphone. Let's just really quick discuss what's going on with the Inhumans versus X-Men, all right? The Inhumans versus mutants, all mutants, okay? What you got is, back during Infinity, Thanos came along and he was looking for his son Thane. And Thane turns out, an Inhuman. Now, somehow, Thanos knew this. He is Thanos, so that somehow is a pretty unspoken obvious, right? He knew that he was an Inhuman. And he wanted to capture him and sway him or kill him. Thanos' purposes, his reasons are his own, all right? He's Marvel's version of Darkseid. He's Marvel's answer to Darkseid, all right? And when push comes to shove, Thanos does what he wants to do because that's what he wants to do. And even though it may seem like a whim, it's very well thought out and extremely well calculated. So he wanted to find Thane, his son. Didn't quite work out the way he wanted to, and during the course of all of this, Black Bolt had to detonate, so to speak, had to release all of the Terrigen crystals, open them all, expose them all, so they became the Terrigen Mists. Now, this was all of the Terrigen crystals, every single one of them. Now, the point of this is it made two gigantic Terrigen mist clouds that are going around and making more Inhumans all over the place to increase the world's defenses. Now, they couldn't have possibly known about the Mpox plague, all right, which is going out, which basically was quoted by, I think it was quoted by Jamie Madrox, who was one of the first to die, the Multiple Man. What happened is, Bagel, go away. That's my cat. Anyway, what happened was, it's actually killing anybody with the X gene. Now, Beast, Hank McCoy, the older one, not the younger one who came later on by way of the old Beast. Wow, these stories are getting convoluted. But the point is, our Beast of Earth 616, he did months, like about 8 months worth of study, and came to the conclusion that, yes, we can save the mutants, but we quite literally have to save them one at a time. Now, the resources that were used were the Inhumans. They were the Inhumans' resources that he was using, all right? Because they wound up having better technology. ISO, one of the Inhumans, came over to help out. Anybody who the Inhumans had to spare, go ahead, bang, do it. Now, as one particular commenter mentioned, it seems very PR. That's public relations. Yes, It is very public relations. You're talking to a guy who, amongst other things, I've got a specialty in marketing with my business degree. Yes, this is public relations, but it is more than that. It's literally like the best that they can do. It does seem like it's almost just, let's show that we're doing the best that we can. But I mean, like, what can you do? What other ideas do you have? Several people have mentioned that it seems like, and even going to my favorite comic book store, which is actually the only comic book store I've been going to lately. I've been very neglectful of other comic book stores. Anyway, when I go, I get people, I'm talking to people, I'm bringing up conversations, talking to, whoever, talking to the store clerks and all that stuff. And yeah, we're all coming to the conclusion that they're not doing the best they can with the writing. Maybe they're not doing the best they can with the writing yet. Spring is when this is supposed to really boom. X-Men Resurrection comes out, right? 2017 spring. That's 2 more seasons. Well, it's another season, right? We just broke into winter a couple days ago. It's another entire season, and we don't know when in spring. So when Resurrection comes about, something's going to happen that somehow the mutants are able to continue, right? Some way, somehow. Maybe what Beast was able to find is that he can he can make an inoculation, right? A vaccination for the mutants, but he literally has to do it one at a time because every single X gene is individual. It's like its own special snowflake. And this is great writing. This is a great idea because, hey, if every single mutant had the ability of optic blasts like Cyclops, bang, Beast would have optic blasts, Wolverine would have optic blasts, all the mutants would have optic blasts. They would all have essentially the same X gene. And you can say, okay, people who have the X gene of optic blasts, bang, 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 here's the scientific code. Here's an inoculation for all the mutants with optic blasts. Unfortunately, that's not the way that it works. Every X gene is different. Every X gene causes a different mutant power, right? I mean, there are a few people who have healing factors, so Beast could work on those people if he wanted to, right? Although you'd figure it'd be Anyway, so the point is, he would have to work on a vaccination for each and every individual mutant, and that would be difficult. That would be beyond ridiculous, but unfortunately it might be one of those things that he's just got to do. And that's what you got to do. The Inhumans haven't pulled away any of their support, but they have pointed out, listen, we've already been attacked. Rather than talking about it first and trying to figure out what's going on, Emma Frost, after Cyclops died. Now, Cyclops has been doing some crazy stuff. Cyclops has proven himself to be almost as bad as Magneto, right? Eliciting his help, which puts you in collusion with him several times, all right, throughout the course of X-Men history. Don't know what to tell you. I don't know what to tell you. I'm going all the way back to like Avengers versus X-Men, when the Avengers were trying to pull Magneto in for UN conferences to go on trial. And the X-Men were saying, nope, 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 not going to happen. And Magneto finally did the right thing and said, okay, I will. Because, yeah, I should. So the X-Men have always been stubborn. Look, I'm a huge X-Men fan going way, way, way back, all right? I am a huge X-Men fan, but I'm also a comic book fan. So I can be a little bit fair when I look at this. The X-Men have always been stubborn. All the comic book characters have always been stubborn. So it's not saying much that the X-Men are stubborn. Everybody's always been stubborn, for crying out loud. You know what I'm saying? But the X-Men have always had this sense of, we stand with our own. We stand with our own. You look at Civil War. You look at Civil War is a different story, and I'm going to get to that in a second. You look at Secret Wars, all right, completely different war. You look at the Secret Wars. What happened? The X-Men broke, right? All of the bad guys stayed together. They were able to collaborate, all right, with the exception of Galactus, which he's not really a bad guy, and Ultron, which is a whole different story. The bad guys colluded together. Right? But the X-Men broke from all the other guys and decided somehow we're stronger by ourselves than we are in a group. Dumb, stupid, just a little bit knuckleheaded. But hey, you know what? Go ahead. You know what I'm saying? Say that they're not, all right? I'm a comic book fan. I'm not an X-Men fan. I'm not a Captain America fan. I'm not a Superman fan. I'm a comic book fan. And looking at things reasonably, logically, comic books, whatever, it's fantasy, the X-Men have always been extremely stubborn and always out for their own. And when later on Avengers versus X-Men, the second one, came along, AVX, it was called, to separate it from Avengers versus X-Men way back in the day. What happened was Cyclops says at one point when Captain America goes down, yes, Captain America came down with a plan B. He went there with a plan B. He had all the Avengers there. Well, guess what? The mutants weren't too far back. So Cyclops making his comment, first off, Captain America came and said, listen, we want to put Hope in our custody. He could have done it a better way. He absolutely could have done it a better way. But also look at who he's talking to. All right? If you're an X-Men fan from the beginning, you're going to say Captain America was completely wrong. I'm a comic book fan. I say he was partially wrong. Yes, there is the background. Yes, there's the history of Cyclops always being ridiculously stubborn to no exacerbating end. But even with that past, you should have given him a little bit more, I think, of a benefit of a doubt. Captain America did come off as very stubborn. You know, he was very determined and things like that. But he was also talking a hell of a lot more reason than Scott Summers was. Feel free to turn the channel off if you want. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm reading the same comics you are. I'm simply doing it without a bias of, but I love the X-Men. I love the X-Men too. I love the X-Men too. I've always loved the X-Men, for crying out loud. The point is, one of the first comics I ever got into was the X-Men. So, hey, the point is, defending myself. Really, I got to defend myself. The point is that Cyclops attacked Captain America. Captain America didn't attack Cyclops. And then, when all the Avengers piled out, Cyclops says, oh, you came here with an army? Well, it's a damn good thing I did, isn't it? It's a damn good thing that I did. When push comes to shove, the X-Men have always been stubborn. Just look at the fights that Wolverine and Cyclops have always had. You're going to tell me the X-Men aren't stubborn? They don't have their own level of stubborn? Just look at the way that Professor X has always led the X-Men, right? Do what I say and stop questioning me. Wow, you're going to tell me that's not stubborn? You look at Angel and his conversations with Wolverine. You look at Iceman and his conversation with Wolverine. I'm seeing Wolverine as being a fairly common thread here. All right, but you look at the way that Archangel, right, has dealt with most people, right? He was very good with Ghost Rider. But aside from that, he was pretty stubborn with a lot of people. You know, he's always been haughty, arrogant, rich boy. You know, what are you gonna do with that? Beast was always one of the least stubborn of them, and then somehow they made him a total jerk in the movies. Way to go, Fox. But there's just so much stubbornness there, and that's the stuff that we've come to love. We come to love how much they're willing to stand for their own, right? But now let's look at what's happening. Right now, we've come to this point in time where the X-Men are dying. The Mpox virus seemingly caused by the Terrigen Mist. Maybe it could literally be something where it's one little component that Beast is going to hit himself in the head for and say, I can't believe I overlooked this. You know? Hey, you can sit here and say, oh, it's all PR on the side of the Inhumans. Okay, well, I don't see anybody else jumping in to help, right? Wouldn't Stark Tech have all the good stuff that could help them out? Couldn't Dr. Doom, infamous Iron Man currently, couldn't he be able to help them out? Smartest guy on the planet right now, right? Stark's AI still exists. He could do something. Look at all the smartest men in the world. Black Panther, much as I love Black Panther, what's he doing to help them out, right? His ex-wife, Storm, for crying out loud, she's a mutant. How come he's not doing something to help out? All these, Amadeus Cho, the totally awesome Hulk, all these incredibly intelligent people, how come none of them are helping out? The Inhumans are the only ones helping out. You can call it PR all you want. It is, partially, but it's not everything. I can sit here and say, you know, how do you make a cake? And you say eggs. You're not wrong, but that's not the only thing that's involved. There's also wheat. There's also, you know, what you can say, the flour. You know what I'm saying? The wheat, the flour, same thing. You can say it's the water. You can say it's a whole bunch. You get the baking process. It's a whole bunch of things, right? So, yes, it's PR, but it's more than that. There is also that sense of responsibility. But this is more than just a culture. It is a culture, but to even just say that culture is just is very dismissing. It's a very dismissing word. Just, you know? all sorts of social, we're talking about the X-Men here, for crying out loud. Every social commentary ever. You want to talk about, what do you call it, disproportionate killings of African Americans. X-Men have covered it. You want to talk about homosexuality. X-Men have covered it. You want to talk about all sorts of different rights. X-Men have covered it, all right? Every single social issue that has ever existed on the face of this lovely planet of ours, the X-Men have covered it. Politicians trying to get involved in people and registration, right? Long before there was the Superhuman Registration Act, there was already the X-Men Registration Act well into place, right? I mean, the X-Men have had to deal with so many different social issues. So guess what? Here's an X-Men story that happens to involve the Inhumans also, and it's a social issue. You're talking about destroying my culture, making it so that my culture is now history. It's in the history books. All right? Destroy that last Terrigen Mist cloud, and then no more Inhumans. Oh, you still have the Inhuman gene, but you won't be able to have your powers. Oh no, they won't have powers anymore. They won't have powers. Oh, it's not such a big deal. They'll still have their history. You go ahead and tell that to any ethnicity out there. Let's go over to some deep part of Africa and tell those people there, hey, listen, we're going to completely remove you from where you are, and you'll still have your history, but you won't have it with you right now. Just write it down in history books and you'll be good. Tell the story orally and write it down in your history and you'll be fine. Let's also consider doing that to certain areas of America also. Let's go down to Louisiana and do the exact same thing. Listen, we're going to get rid of the Creole culture and all that stuff. You'll still have it in the history books though, don't worry. That's unacceptable. That's completely unacceptable. This is a religious right. Let's go into deep Idaho and tell the people there, Iowa, Idaho. Oh my God, I feel like such a bad person right now. I'm sorry to all the Mormons out there. I forget where they're most. I mean, I know they're in Nevada. They're all over the place, but it's Idaho, isn't it? I feel so bad right now. Anyway, correct me in the comments, please. I'll probably see it on the internet before anyways. But the point is that go down there and say, listen, you guys can still be around. You guys, we're not going to move you. We're not going to do anything, but you can't practice Mormonism anymore. That's unacceptable. That's completely unacceptable. You can't, even if it's based on a history or anything like that, that's unacceptable. That's how nations are divided. Look at the history of East and West Pakistan, right? It's not called East Pakistan anymore. Now, ever since 1972, it's called Bangladesh. Look up the history. Look up what Bangladesh means. Look up what it means and look up the history of Bangladesh and tell me that culture isn't important. Language alone. Tell me that language alone, the meaning of the word Bangladesh. Tell me that it's not important. Countries have been divided over telling people what language they're going to speak. Bangladesh means the people who speak Bangla, and that's the language there. And it's also, I think, the 9th most spoken language in the world because there's such a populated country, right? You don't tell people they've got to change this or change that. That's unacceptable. Now, oh, but it's going to cause the extinction of another people. That sucks. That really sucks. And we're going to do what you can. Now, is constantly going around and moving people out of the way of the Terrigen Cloud, is that sustainable? Probably not. Probably not. But it's especially not sustainable when the RIV that was being used to move the people was just destroyed by Magneto. Good job. World's biggest comic book terrorist ever just destroyed the one means that the Inhumans had, the best hope that mutants had of sustaining currently. You just destroyed that mode of transportation. Good job. You trusted Magneto for that, and you succeeded. You succeeded in shooting yourself in the foot. And that is the stubbornness of mutant kind, right? The most ever. All of the you look at the one thing that Fox always gets right every single time with their movies, their X-Men movies, is the ideological battles between Magneto and Professor X, right? Those are the things that they always get right because that's always one of the most amazing parts of the X-Men is looking at these ideologies, right? The whole movement, Cyclops was right. What's that based on? It's based on ideologies. So their ideology was, okay, let's take out this one mode of transportation that they have so they can't get around. Oh, we're also shooting ourselves in the foot because we mutants are concentrating all of our energies right now on attacking this Terrigen cloud. But there are going to have to be some mutant casualties in the meantime because we can't, or because, by destroying the RIV, this giant mobile base that is going around moving and protecting mutants, well, some mutants are going to have to die from the Terrigen cloud moving by because the Inhumans can't do what they vowed to do in the first place, because we had to kind of cripple them and make sure that they can't, defend themselves as we're taking them all out. Good job. Good job. I know, I'm going to get arguments. They're not taking them out. They're just trying to take out the cloud. Either way, once you start saying collateral damage is necessary, you've already lost the war. The whole idea that, to make an omelet, you got to break some eggs. That's good for breakfast. That's not good for life. That's not good for life. I spent 6 years in the military. Maybe some of you guys have too, less, more. I don't discredit any of it. When you've seen actual war, when you've talked to people who have been to war, you get the idea that when you just talk to a policeman who's had to shoot somebody before, that's not cool. Now, I'm bringing real life into comic books, into fantasy. I get it. It's silly, but this is writing. This is fiction. This is writing. Just because it's a visual media, can we honestly say that comic books are still for kids? You can clearly see the comic books that are meant for kids nowadays, right? But this isn't meant for kids anymore. We're talking about a race of people who you're talking about, okay, completely kill your culture. You'll never have Inhumans again. You'll only have the dormant gene. You won't have the major gene again. But the mutants will survive. Sounds like a good plan for the mutants, not for the Inhumans. The Inhumans are saying, we're going to continue doing what we can to save all of you mutants that we can. You could help also. And in the meantime, I recommend you start trying to find some kind of a cure. We're trying to look for something. We're giving you all of our resources, trying to look for something. ISO's looking also. She just defers to Beast as being smarter than her. They're doing what they can with what they've got and saying, we're not going to accept our Terrigen cloud being destroyed. Right? Emma Frost doing that psychic thing and having the image, the projection of Cyclops going out to all the people back in Death of X. That was PR. That was negative PR. That horrible form of propaganda. Telling people that, the Terrigen cloud is not just going to hurt mutants, it's going to hurt you too, you regular humans. That's messed up. That's like you literally lied for your own benefit. That's messed up. Now, there are people who are still going to keep on making their defenses. But I love the X-Men so much. That's not actually what they're going to say. What they're going to say is, but the Inhumans are still wrong. Look, let's put this a step further. Okay? Look at all of some of the best storylines that the X-Men have ever had have typically involved the cure. Okay? Now, it was the dumbest of the movies. Good job, Fox, with Last Stand. But if you've never read the X-Men comics, I can assure you, those stories were way better in the comics than they ever were with over here with X-Men Last Stand. All right, so they've always, several times in comics, in fact, even recently, they've made a cure for Homo Superior. They've cured the X gene, and the X-Men don't even like to hear that word. They don't even like to hear the word cure. They're calling it a cure. That's messed up. It's always been messed up. And the X-Men have never been able to accept something like that. And they've been really upset with the Morlocks, right? These poor, they're almost degenerates, hiding in the sewer with the worst form of mutations that can't possibly interact with the rest of, humankind. Oh yeah, Kurt, Nightcrawler, what I'm saying? You should be a Morlock, because look at the way you look. That's horrible. Most of us don't have the courage to go out looking the way that you do. You know what I'm saying? Many of the mutants look like Cyclops, good-looking guy. Jean Grey, sexy. You know what I'm saying? Wolverine, short and hairy, but you can still blend in with society perfectly fine. But the Morlocks can't blend in with society, so they stay in the sewers. And several of the Morlocks have said, we'll take this cure. And the X-Men were like, well, I guess we can't make you not, but we hope that you understand that it's part of who you are, and you've got to accept who you are. And yeah, easy for you to say, right? And some of the best social commentary ever. You know, imagine if they could cure homosexuality. If you're somebody who hates homosexuals, oh good, they should do something like that. If you are a homosexual, or if you have homosexual friends, that's completely unacceptable. A cure for being who you are? For being the way that you were made? Oh, there's something wrong with me? Come on. And that's what the X-Men have always shown. There's nothing wrong with me. So suggesting that the Inhumans should go along and not be Inhumans anymore. Oh, you'll still be Inhumans, you just won't have the powers come out and show. That's really great. Here's the thing. Former electrical engineer, all right? I got a good scientific background in my mind. I'm going to say that a good suggestion, a good cure for the X-Men, a final cure would be give them the cure. Okay? Give them the cure. It makes the X gene dormant. And now they could go on and they could survive. They won't have all their individual powers anymore, but they'll live. No, nobody's going to accept that. There's not a single fan of the X-Men out there who's ever going to accept something like that as being okay. No, it's changing who they are. And that's the argument you just try to make against the Inhumans. Why? Because the Inhumans aren't as popular as the X-Men? Look, it's social commentary on comics. All right? But that's what it is. And I'm really hoping that the writers step up their game and start exploring this stuff. You've got until spring to do this, but all these comics that are coming out, I'm not actually seeing that. All right? Maybe they can invent more Terrigen crystals. Maybe they can find more Terrigen crystals. Maybe they can't. That's a big, big maybe. Suggesting that maybe they'll find another way to unlock that dormant Inhuman gene, you know, from the Kree ancestry. Maybe. That's a big maybe. That's a huge maybe. And that's not right. Well, maybe you can cure, give all the X-Men the cure, and then maybe you'll be able to fix it once you figured out the answer to, Bagel, relax, to, you know, the Terrigen Mist being around. But that's too big of a maybe. That's way too big of a maybe. And that's the thing that we really have to think about logically. Guys, I think that this discussion has gone on for a long time. If I get some positive feedbacks, I'll try and do something like this once a month, maybe. I've been looking for an extra thing to do in the typical 4-week process of a month. The 5-week months are just a killer. But trying to do something cool once a week besides just comic book reviews. So please let me know if you like this. Agree with me, disagree with me. It's cool. Keep the comments mature. All right, don't attack anybody. And I hate the term fanboy. All right, I am the least thing from a fan. I'm a fan of the comics. I'm not a you know, people say, oh, you're a fanboy of Superman. That's why you think that nobody can beat Superman. Some people are a quote-unquote fanboy, but it's not cool to, come on, we're all nerds. We've all been called some kind of a name back in high school or previous, and sometimes post, right? Let's stop with the nerd hate, the geek hate, all right, the dork hate. There's no need to insult each other like that, all right? No need whatsoever. So, guys, this is Professor Bill, Comic Book University. Keep it real. Hey, subscribe, spread the wealth. You know, you share my video, one of my videos, any of my videos on your channel. Maybe somebody else sees it. Help my channel grow, please. I don't monetize, so you should never see commercials when you're looking at my videos, and that's kind of how I like it. So, guys, Professor Bill, Comic Book University, class dismissed.